long neck. Think about it. Where did the ostrich ever get a long neck like he has, right? Because it's sort of strange. Think about how long that neck is.
Brachiosaurus?
Pardon?
I mean Patasaurus.
Well, we'll see. Okay, this is a story that used to be told in Kenya, in Africa, to little children like you. So we'll see what you think. Now, there's one part in the story I'm going to need your help. Okay?
Is he crying?
Yes, I'm going to tell you why he's crying. So one part in the story is there's a bird, and the bird says, "Caw, caw, don't do it, don't do it." So can you guys try that? Can you say, "Caw, caw, don't do it, don't do it"? Okay. So one day there was this beautiful ostrich, and he was going by the riverbank, and he was trying to eat, and he was trying to drink, but the problem is his neck is so short and his legs were so long. So he would stand up by the riverbank and try to, get his face down to drink water. And
Why can't he just lay down again?
because his legs were too long. So then he said, "Okay, I'll try eating the berries on the tree." Well, he had the long legs, but his little short neck. And he can't eat the berries either. So he was very frustrated. Well, down the river was an alligator, and he was just crying. He's got a toothache, and he can't eat anything, and so it's kind of like got this toothache, and he's crying these tears into the river, and who's going to help me with my tooth? I can't eat. And so he sees an animal called a kudu, and a kudu looks like a deer, these big twisty antlers. Okay, and he says, "Mr. Kudu, can you please help me? I've got a really sore tooth, and maybe you can use your big antler to go way back in my mouth and dig out the tooth." Kudu says, "Well, okay." And then the fish eagle comes by and says, "Caw, caw, don't do it, don't do it." And the kudu says, "You know what? I'm a little afraid to put my antler in your mouth, so I'm not going to do it." So the alligator ties something around his head. He's crying, "My tooth, nobody will help me, my poor tooth." And so he comes upon a mother baboon with her baby. He says, "Mother baboon, look at me, look at my tooth. I can't eat. Can you please help me? Can you please use your claw and go way back into my mouth and dig out the tooth?" And the baby says, "Oh, Mom, maybe you should help that Mr. Alligator." And the fish eagle comes flying by and says, "Caw, caw, don't do it, don't do it." Because why? What's he afraid of?
His tooth getting pulled out.
Well, what is the bird afraid of that's going to happen to the mother baboon when she puts her claw? Yes! Alligators eat them. So the mother baboon says, I just can't do that. I'm kind of nervous. So she runs off. So now the alligator is just crying. The tears are all over the place. And he comes upon the ostrich. And he says, "Mr. Ostrich, you're my last hope. Look at my tooth, I can't eat. Can you please maybe just, with your beak, you can go in there and dig out my bad tooth." And the ostrich says, "Well, I don't know about that." And he says, "Please, there's no one else who can help me." And the fish eagle comes flying by and says, "Caw, caw, don't do it, don't do it." But the ostrich says, I know you're telling me not to do it, but I just feel too badly for him." So he gets down right by the alligator's mouth. He says, open wide. So the alligator opens real wide. He starts tapping on his teeth with his beak, and he says, "Is this the one? No. Go back a little further. Is this the one? No, you gotta go back a little bit further. Go all the way in the back." So his head and his beak is trying to get it. And what does the alligator says? "I didn't have breakfast this morning." And he chomps down right on the ostrich's head. And the ostrich is pulling and he's pulling and he's pulling, and the bird is saying, I told you, caw, caw, don't do it, don't do it. So now all the birds come around and the elephant's trumpeting and saying, ostrich needs help, and they're all gathered around him on the river, and the ostrich is pulling and pulling, and the alligator's pulling and pulling, and he pulls the alligator right onto the shore. And all the birds are pecking and swooping around, and the alligator says, forget it, and he releases them, and he slinks back into the water. And there's the ostrich, and he's like, I feel a little different now. He feels his head, and his neck has gotten so long from being stretched when he was in the alligator's mouth. And he looks up and he says, I think I can eat those berries now. He takes a little bite. With his long neck, he can reach the berries. And he says, I bet I can drink the water without having to bend down on my knees. And he puts his head all the way down, and he can drink the water. And he says, you know what? I think that alligator did me a favor. He stretched my neck from this big to my long neck, and now I kind of like it. So that's how the ostrich got his long neck.
Can you show us 3 story now?
I can.
Am I good?